You're watching Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Hyman stinks, Nuge stinks, Arvidsson stinks, Henrique stinks, Skinner doesn't play, Janmark stinks, Perry is old, Connor Brown stinks, Kapanen stinks, Podkolzin stinks, Savoy just got sent down, Nurse stinks, Ekholm stinks, Bouchard stinks, Kulak stunk, Klingberg is awful, Emberson stinks, Stetcher doesn't play, where's Alex Regula? Let's get into it with the lead. I honestly don't even know what to do at this point. Welcome into Oilers Nation every day. We're live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. The show is a presentation of Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Skinner didn't stink last night, at least. Pickard stinks. There you go. Just rounding out the whole roster here. Welcome into the show. Listed all those problems, but you're right, AA Ron in the chat. It's probably the goalie coach. What are we?
Always get back there.
This was supposed, and I know. Remember last season at the start of the year, I said the only way this year is even mildly interesting is if things go terribly wrong, and then they fired Jay Woodcroft 6 weeks into the season, and it was like, well, it got interesting. Like I nailed it. This wasn't supposed to happen this year. This was supposed to be President's Trophy, coast your way to a division title. Let's see how things happen in the playoffs. And, thank God they went on that little run at some point. But, they're obviously going to be a playoff team. I'm probably still betting on them to beat the Kings. But, Jesus, they are not going any further in the second round. Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it right now, does it? It's a bad stretch for sure, and it's not just been a couple of weeks. It's been a few weeks. And I was on the big program today.
Shout out Kevin Garius.
Spoke about curling most of it, which was way better. But Kevin said, I said they've won one regulation game in February. They won 10 in January for a comparison. Yeah. The last time they played a good game, you can look at that Vancouver game, and Kevin says that last time they had a good stretch of games was that, what was it? They shut out LA, they beat Minnesota, and then they came back against Colorado. Yeah. That was January 13th, I think, or something like that.
Were we not in Denver or something like that?
No, that was after. But it's really shit right now.
Stretch of really good hockey games. Is it 2025? Oh, I'm looking in 2024. Jesus, Tyler, get with the program. Yeah, I think that's probably true. And then they even lost 3-2 to Van, and I think played okay that night. So,
that was obviously the McDavid suspension game.
Oh yeah, and then things kind of fell apart from that point on.
They actually played terrible.
Interesting waivers today.
Yeah, I did not know he was on that team.
Yeah, so Puljujarvi's a Panther.
Yeah, so Chris Johnson said, yes, Puljujarvi on waivers today after signing with Florida, so must have signed earlier today.
Jordan Osterley in Boston's on waivers. I'm good. Jacob Verana, 7 goals in 26 games. I mean,
we already have Jacob Verana at home.
Is it Kapanen?
Kasperi Kapanen.
Verana scores way more, though.
Don't they have the same amount of goals this season?
This season, traditionally, though, I mean, Verana's done some stuff anyways.
I can't do these guys anymore.
It's a fucking disaster.
So, yeah, Tampa Bay is trying to acquire Gordon Bjorkstrand. That's awesome. There was something else.
How do they do that?
Oh, because their blue line makes no money.
I mean, I guess.
That's essentially
but it's similar to the Oilers' blue line this year. They have one expensive guy, a mid-range guy, 2 mid-range guys, a guy in the $3 million range, and then some league mins.
I think also those kind of rookie first, second-year forwards
they're spending $26 million on D, which is about 1.5 more than the Oilers.
So they have no players who make more than $10 million. Kucherov and Point both, and Kucherov and Point 9.5, Gensel 9, Hagel 6.5, crazy. That is insane. Anthony Cirelli 6.25,
crazy.
And then below that, the next expensive one is 3.15 Nick Poland, and everyone else makes $900 or less.
Yeah.
They figured it out.
Yeah, that's fair. I just mean assets-wise. It feels like every year it's Tampa found 2 first-round picks to trade. I guess they dealt away Sergachev. That kind of helps with your draft pick stockpile, but
got to be ruthless.
Whatever. Anyways, I don't even want to talk about tomorrow or last night all that much. Let me know when Frank's here, because we're going to get to Frank pretty quick into today's edition of the show. But last night was just a disaster, and I guess it's my one big take for our friends at Service Credit Union. The Service Big Share Contest is back, and it's your chance to win $1 million just by saving money. Rules apply. Skill test question required as well. Head to Service Credit Union or service.ca/win to find out more info. Every $500 saved gets you 5 entries into the Big Share Contest. Again, they're giving away $1 million just for saving money with Service. My big take is this team is broken.
They have, they're cut deep right now, and teams just keep jabbing.
Yeah, and it's at a time of the year where no one's going to roll over and give you an easy night. A bunch of teams, and the teams that are playing are battling for playoff spots like Anaheim is last night. The Oilers gave the Ducks a little bit of life now, but like there are going to be no easy nights. You have, Montreal and Dallas to end the week. They're both really good. But like, I don't know, man. Like this Oilers team is lifeless. 1 week goal goes in every game, and maybe the players are sick of it or whatever, but it totally deflates them. They show little to no fight. Before, when they were down 4-1 in a game, it was like, all right, go live bet the comeback, because they're going to make this thing close, and your cash out's going to be sweet at some point. But like right now, they go down 3-4-1, and it's awful, man. So they have no fight. I think a big change is needed. I tweeted it yesterday after the game. I think you've got to do something to shake things up. And hey, the trade deadline is 47 hours away. So get to work, Stan Bowman. Let's continue the trade conversation, and we're kicking off the show on the Star Mechanical guest line, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about them online at starmechanical.ca. Residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency service. They do it all. They do it well. Big shout out to Star Mechanical. Frank, last time we had you on, the conversation was, hey, like, let's not overreact. We're all too, we tend to do that a little bit here in Edmonton, but since then, Frank...
Is he frozen and hopped out?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, no.
Are you here, Frank?
I'm here. I'm just working. There's stuff happening.
Do you want us to let you go? Do you want to come back in 10 minutes?
No, keep going.
Okay. Last week, you were kind of like, hey, don't worry, guys. Don't overreact to everything that's going on here. But since then, they've lost 3 more hockey games, Frank, and I'm starting to get to the point where I'm worried that this team might not fix themselves this year.
Yeah, and I guess I would add to that, don't expect some new shiny toy to come in and solve all of their problems. Because you can take a look at my trade targets board. There's 40-some names on there left. Aside from, a superstar addition, which the Oilers don't even really have the assets to do or the cap space, you tell me where's the cavalry coming? Like, they need to figure it out on their own. And I believe whether you're using Evander Kane's LTIR money or not, there is not a true big enough difference maker out there for this team as currently constituted to necessarily lift them out of the malaise that they're in. The solution has to come from within. It just does.
It is 100% on this group to figure it out, because they are not all that different from the team that went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. Do they need a boost via trade? Do they need to do some amount of addition by subtraction? I don't know, but you have a piece up at dailyfaceoff.com about, the still shopping teams in the NHL, and you kind of have Edmonton ranked as right in the middle, from aggressive to more likely to stand pat. You have Jamie Alexiak as an ideal fit. Do you think that's like a realistic expectation for Oilers fans to be like, hey, by Friday, a Jamie Alexiak type defender could be an Oiler?
It's a possibility for sure. That's the type of, I think, ad stylistically that they'd like to make. Can they pull something like that off? I think is a real question. But I do want to add one thing. Like, you said not all that different from last year's team. Like, I think this team is significantly different than the team that went to Game 7. And I don't know that as a marketplace, as a whole, as a hockey community, we've necessarily recognized that like 30% of this team is different than it was last year in Game 7.
I guess coming into the year, though, it was like, okay, you lost Fogle, but Arvidsson should be just as good. You're not going to have Ryan McLeod, but a full season of Adam Henrique should fill that void a little bit. Ceci and Desharnais are out, but you have Ty Emberson, and he seems like an intriguing, kind of project to bring on here. Like, the roster, I just don't think is that much worse, as much as maybe it is 30% different. But I
No,
guess getting older is biting them in the ass.
It's that much worse. It truly is.
Okay.
The speed has evaporated. The goal scoring capability has deteriorated. Evan Bouchard has had a worse season than last year. Connor McDavid has had a significantly worse season than last year. So you take some underperforming players relative to the high standard that they've set, then add in the drop-off from the players that we've talked about all season long, and what you end up with is a team where when you get to the Stanley Cup playoffs and you attempt to go all the way, you end up winning on the margins. You end up winning by small percentage points. And when you have enough of these things chip away at what you've built, that adds up to something significant. So yeah, I mean, you hit on them, but those are all like legitimate pieces that I think now you look at it and you go, I don't know that we properly appreciated how tough that has been to overcome.
Evander Kane, obviously they're still up in the air what if he's going to play, whatever that may be. But he did have to submit his 16 trade list. Do you think there's any chance he gets moved, or do you think that's just kind of something that won't happen?
I'd be very, very surprised. Not impossible, but this is the situation. Everyone in the league can see that you're trying to move Evander Kane to get yourself out of the possibility of being in this spot where he could come back. Who knows what's going to happen, how this health situation is going to play itself out. The only way to really truly avoid it is to not have him on your roster at all. So everyone can see that. They can see the term remaining on his deal, and they say, okay, you tell us what assets you're attaching to Evander Kane in order for us to relieve you of this problem. It's not for nothing. It's not that he has value. It's that you are stapling assets to Evander Kane to move him. If you're the Oilers and you have limited assets to begin with, the way better play is just to play it. If you're really that concerned, play it conservative, don't spend the money. And then at some point when he's ready to return, get a healthy potential impact Evander Kane into your lineup and then see what happens before potentially addressing it again in the summer.
I do think that's something that's got lost a lot in this Evander Kane situation. Is like, he can still play and he can still make some kind of impact on this team. Like, obviously you want to spend that $5 million, and like that would be great to have him, and then plus whoever that $5 million player is. But like, Evander Kane can come back and change his team. Like, they just got Trent Frederick yesterday, but like, Evander Kane can score goals, he can also play physical, and he can be a dick to play against. And the Oilers kind of need all three of those things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you look at him from a few years back in the playoffs and you're like, this guy was the impact piece that they needed. He was such a big difference maker with the way that he played that part is lost on everyone's hammed up on the cap number, which I understand why, but he could end up being very realistically the Oilers' best trade deadline addition in the end. And so to cut off your nose to spite your face, I don't know that makes a lot of sense. Like, yeah, it would be nice to, be clear of the issue, but you're probably also in the long run decreasing your playoff chances, let alone the assets that you would spend in order to make it happen.
Yeah, I would have no interest in attaching an asset to Evander Kane to get rid of him, obviously. But what about some other guys?
And not a little one, by the way. Like, it wouldn't be cheap to move.
Yeah, so like, again, they're already so thin in the prospect department. Like, most teams would trade a Max Wanner and not think twice. The Oilers trade Max Wanner, and it's like, ooh, he might have been their next best right shot defenseman.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think they spend a lot of time thinking about Max Wanner.
Fair. Let me just quickly ask you then. There's Arvidsson at $4 million. There's Skinner at 3.5. Like, do you think there's a chance there is some subtraction from this roster? I mean, if you're acquiring a defenseman and you need to make the money work, John Klingberg can go. That's not working.
He could go. Again, who's taking him?
I'm saying if you're trying to get an Alexiak and it's like, okay, we need to play it safe here. Seattle's going to keep a little bit of money. And, hey, you have to take the 1.7 for Klingberg to make us whole this season.
Right. I mean, I could see that. Yep. That's a possibility. When it comes to Arvidsson and Skinner, I mean, these guys have full no trade protection. So unless one of them wants to go play for what's likely to be in a trade partner, a non-playoff team, which I can't imagine would be the case, their best bet or most likely play is to reject anything that would pop up.
You just said, Dan, you mentioned the no movement clauses, and obviously that has been a topic of conversation in Edmonton, just adding fuel to the fire. Can you just tell us how something like that would happen, where Arvidsson and Henrique is just like not known until late February that somehow these guys also have no movement clauses? Like, I feel like this is something that isn't happening around the league.
I can't offer any insight into it because I wasn't obviously party to the reporting of it, but that he has one, that it just didn't become known. I think that happens more often than you think. Contract details, particularly ones like that, can be somewhat scarce. In fact, like there's some guys around the league that have performance bonuses that we don't know exactly what those are or how they're hit or how it works. So it's not all that unusual for a no trade or no move to slip through the cracks. I think what is unusual is that the Oilers are now working through a process where at the time when you made the Skinner and Arvidsson deals, you're probably thinking, hey, we got these guys to take less to come here. This is a nice bone to throw them to allow them some measure of security with this deal that we won't be moving them and that they could settle in here. And so now we know that they haven't worked and that it's come back to bite them, but that wasn't obviously the view at the time.
Let's maybe move outside of Edmonton and talk about some other teams here. The LA Kings are pretty high up on your list in terms of teams that could get aggressive in the next day and a bit. They have some cap space. They obviously have a couple of assets they could move as well. As an Oilers guy, I'm still not sitting here all that scared of a round one matchup against the LA Kings. What are the chances they make a move that maybe changes my mind a little bit?
Well, the chances I think are legit, but I'll add this. Given the conversation we just had, why wouldn't you be concerned? I mean, think about every really good team that has, a series of 7 or 8 years in the playoffs. At some point in time, there's an upset. And by the way, through this process, the Oilers have also flirted with Game 7 in these first-round matchups. So I think with the way the Oilers have played, I would take nothing for granted, one. And two, what happens if LA goes out and gets a difference maker? I'm going to say this, and you can underline it 7 times. If the Carolina Hurricanes decide to move Mikko Rantanen, I believe the LA Kings will be at the very front of the line in order to try and get him. I think this is a team that, obviously at varying points this year has struggled to score. They defend super well. Their goaltending has been fine. They do have difference makers up front. They're built strong down the middle, but that would be a perfect type fit. And I think the other part of it is they're feeling pressure. This Kings team, if you face the Oilers again for a 4th consecutive year and you lose again, you have nothing to show for it. And yeah, I'm sure that's exactly how the Calgary Flames and the Winnipeg Jets felt in the 80s, just trying to make it out of their division. But also, Rob Blake will have been 8 years into his tenure as GM without a single playoff series win. So I think they understand that this is a moment in time where they need to make and show some progress. And they're feeling it. So can they go out and acquire a game breaker, which might really help in that case? And by the way, if you're the Kings and you say, hey, what if we could get Mikko Rantanen and he's just a pure rental? Maybe you're one of those markets that feels really comfortable in saying, well, if anyone has a good chance to re-up him, we'd have as good as any.
You would totally change the complexion of that forward group. Another team in the Pacific I want to ask you about is Vegas. It seems like the second you kind of go, maybe Vegas won't do anything crazy this year, that's when they go and do something crazy and add someone big. But what could you see the Golden Knights getting up to in the next little bit?
I think they're one of the true wild cards. Like, you can't really ever rule them out from anything, which is probably tough as an Oiler fan. Like, think about how shocking that Hurdle deal was. Like, he wasn't even on our radar as someone that could be traded, not because we don't do any digging, but because the Sharks, he was hurt for so long, and the Sharks didn't seem all that motivated to go out and make something happen. So they felt like he was a really good fit. I still think they could use a little bit more scoring punch on the wing. Doesn't have to be too crazy, but you could cook up some scenarios that also make a lot of sense. What about reuniting Riley Smith with the Golden Knights? I mean, he's worked, it works. Big part of your cup team. He's in New York, he's had money retained, but not from the Golden Knights. So you can reacquire him. And I don't think the cost to acquire him would be exorbitant. They could actually, I believe, take his cap hit in full or close to it without having to do too much. So they're an interesting team for sure. And I think they're involved in a lot of different stuff down the stretch, but they're a really formidable team. They've got 3 really solid defensemen and star level talent up front between Eichel and Stone that I think is going to make them an incredibly difficult out and probably, as it stands right now today, should be the odds-on favorite to be representing the Pacific in the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, I mean, they're 4 points up on the Oilers, with a game in hand, too. And I think if they started a best of 7, as you said, I don't think the Oilers are favorites in that one. Do you got anything else?
I'm just sad, Frank. This sucks right now. This team is driving me nuts. Everything that's come out this week has sucked. I just hope you can tell me something good before the Friday deadline. Just anything's fine. American League deal, whatever you've got, let us know.
I'll see what I can do. As I say all the time, I don't make the trades. I don't make the news. I just report on it. But look, this is all part of the roller coaster 82-game season. Very rarely does a team just go on cruise control and start to finish, no hiccups, no headaches. And like I said, the turnover from year over year shouldn't be overlooked. It was pretty significant, and I think even more significant than many realized at the time.
Yeah. Just because the chat's doing this, Frank, and listen, I ask you this question all the time, and I asked you it today on DFO Live. You do not make the news, you report it. I love that line. The Oilers are not thinking goalie in their front office, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Thanks.
And there's also no goalies on your trade targets board as well as out of the top.
There's Peter Mrazek and Dan Vladar. Vitek Vanacek is gone now.
Vitek Vanacek, hey?
What could have been?
The one that got away. All right, Frank. Well, we'll let you get back to breaking trades and doing all your deadline stuff. It's a busy couple days for you, so we appreciate you popping on.
See you guys.
There you go.
Frank
Seravalli. Boy, the Edmonton Oilers.
We've been down in the dumps a few times on this show.
But not this late in the season.
But this one feels very different. Lance Kane, the second most optimistic Oilers fan I know, obviously behind Rusty.
Rusty, yeah.
Of course. DMing me yesterday being like, it'll be okay. And I do believe they will ultimately be fine. They'll come out of this and be okay. This team was good in January and a little bit before that too, I guess. But it's just like, man, how do you play the Anaheim Ducks last night and look like you're the team that's rebuilding? You know what I mean? You got outscored 6-0 against the Anaheim Ducks at 5-on-5. And they had a couple of chances. Dolstall played well, but Edmonton had to make those chances for themselves. Anaheim were just gifted 6 goals.
Yeah.
Of the 6 goals last night, which one of them wasn't a mistake from somebody?
So
is there any of them?
I'll go through the 6. The Carlson goal was a turnover by Draisaitl. The McTavish goal is an inexcusable goal for an AHL goalie to give up. Never mind an NHL goalie. Sam Colangelo bank shot.
Yeah, heel. So I guess that is a fault of someone. So but Kulak, I guess. Got more left.
Off that face-off, they lose the draw. Everyone's kind of standing still. Goes behind the net.
McTavish right in front.
Nobody's on him.
3 guys down.
Draisaitl just doesn't stick with him. So that's a defensive miscue. Ryan Strome in the second period was somehow an ozone draw that within seconds gets flipped around to come back the other way. This was the bad pinch by Nurse.
Which one was this one? Oh, yeah.
Nurse with a brutal pinch.
And then Dry stops skating.
And lets his guy go. And
watch Leon Draisaitl here at center dot.
Yeah, he stops skating.
He doesn't move his feet once.
Stop skating, yeah.
He literally doesn't stride, yeah.
And then the 6-1 was Klingberg taking his shot and then coming all the way. No, actually, he didn't come all the way. He just refused to. And then
do we have the 6-1 goal?
Cologne was just clean through on goal. And then, that's the thing, I guess it's some silver lining in this, is, if you even want to call it. It's very, very faint.
Like
They're
Klingberg
making,
doesn't hustle there.
They're making clear and obvious mistakes that should be able to like get out of their game. Like they need to simplify it so hard. And like, look, goalies weren't good yesterday. Do not get me wrong. But the problem with it is they were allowing some goals like this earlier in the season and still winning the games because their offense was going.
Yeah, and they were limiting things too.
Yeah, and everything was like the team defense was good, but like that has just completely disappeared. And I don't get it. Like I really don't understand. Like Brian, who's in our chat quite regularly, after I tweeted out yesterday being like, this game was a disaster. He tweeted at me just saying, like, why does no one go to the slot? Like, why does no one go to the net? Like, it's nuts. Like, this is...
There was a play yesterday where a puck bounced in front. It was in the first period. It happened right in front of me. And Connor Brown just kind of, all he could do was take like a little whiff at it. And if he would have slammed on the brakes and just parked himself in front, it's a goal.
Right,
like,
I think I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that right there, like, and I don't know whether or not to be glass half full, glass half empty about it, because you're right, like, these are very fixable mistakes.
Yes.
Leon Draisaitl needs to back check. John Klingberg needs to hustle back when he makes a pinch. Darnell Nurse needs to not make a stupid pinch. Like, there are so many fixable things out there that it's like, they should know better. These things should not be happening at all. But on the other side, it's been 61 games. So if by game 61 you don't have it figured out, what reason do I have that when I watch the game on Thursday in game 62 that they're going to hustle and play defense, that they're going to pick up their man in the D zone, that the goalies are going to stop the pucks they're supposed to, or at least 90% of them?
Yeah, it's hard to think that way. I completely agree with you. The thing, it's not been 61 games of this would be my counter to it. It's been a month, which is
haven't
obviously
had a good heater though.
January they were like the best team in the league, or top 5 team.
They were good, yeah. But
so I would say that it's just I think they can get back to their ways,
but you only have 21 games to do that. It's a quarter of the season, but you only have 21 games to do that.
And this needs to be the time when you flip it. But the problem they're also having too is we can talk about defense a lot, and it's obviously really impacting their game. They're also just not scoring goals, which is nuts. So they scored 3 against Philly. How many did they score in Washington? 3. They lost 7-3, wasn't it? 1 against Tampa Bay, 2 against Florida. You got 2 against Carolina. 1 was an empty net. Yeah. And last night you scored 2 again. You didn't even score 1 at 5-5. Like that is nuts. That is insane. Like it's so strange to me. There were so many shots yesterday from the defenseman. Like, I'm not really blaming the defense on the offensive side of the puck because they're getting pucks to the net. Just no one's doing anything. No one's making life difficult for the other goalies. And like Lucas also played well yesterday. He made really quite a few saves.
Stop on Nuge was amazing.
Yeah, and that's
stoned McDavid a handful of times.
Yeah, Hyman, I think he had a really good save against Hyman. The goalies yesterday, obviously not good, but look at the first 2 shots Pickard faced as well. 2 like clean breakaways.
Oh, a breakaway from the red line in that he snares.
How is that happening? You know, like you look at first 10 minutes, and you actually did get a couple of saves from your goalie when you kind of needed them, and then the wheels fell apart. Like that Pickard goal. If that's the fourth, well, if you get into the 4th goal against Anaheim, you're already in trouble.
In the first period.
Yesterday. Yeah, but that second goal against that is such a backbreaker. Yep. Like the first one. Turnover, Leo Carlson right in the slot. It's like, okay.
Also, very good play by Alex Killorn on that one. I don't know if you saw.
Which one was that?
The first one here, where he goes behind the net with Leon. He kind of like. Oh wait, sorry.
That's the Oilers goal.
Those are the days.
You can watch that one.
If you watch Alex Killorn, he like stickless. He moves dry stick himself. You'll see it here. This and he like knocks the puck out in front.
Sneaky
on the
play.
back side of Leon's stick. Which it is a turnover and a giveaway, but
yeah, Jackson Colm last night.
He's unbelievable.
He's a good player.
He is so good.
+5. Also, Hyman got absolutely annihilated by Radko Gudas. Holy smokes! Literally a caught on his thighs. A savage. That's how we're all feeling.
And then they had to like stop play for him, and I was
which I think was the right call. Well, you were obviously at the game.
Yeah.
So where were you in perspective of that?
That's in the corner. I can't see that.
So he was like keeled over.
Yeah.
Like
I thought he broke his nose.
I think the ref thought it was a lot worse than it was.
Yeah. And then he just kind of went to the bench, sat off on the side, and
cried a little bit internally, like we all did. Should we do some ad reads?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Well, I'm not done my coffee yet, so we can't do Tim's yet.
Okay.
Well, let's do trade talk. No, let's do lineup report. for Oodle Noodle.
Good call. That's an important one today.
Oodle Noodle, one of the things we love about them, well, a handful of things. One, they give you chances to win trips with us on Nation Vacations. Two, they do have delicious noodles. It is.
I'm having it tonight.
You're doing noodle night for you? What's the order?
Spring rolls, but they're not called. They have the other one too. I forget what they're called.
I like green onion cakes, but anyways.
Oh, I'll get those as well.
Yeah. The key is to load up on the app so that you have enough of your main meal to save for the next day.
Bingo. And I started getting. I'm terrible with names, but the Bangkok Pad Thai was one that's a favorite in my household. I had another one, the Kung Pao chicken, is that it?
I'm a hot Thai box guy right now.
Tokyo Glaze for me.
Yeah.
And this month
You
or
don't
this
stray away from that very often, do you?
No, not really. Once in a while, I'll do the ginger beef if I'm feeling a little different. But 10% of all Tokyo Glaze orders go to Sports Central as well. So shout out to Sports Central and Oodle Noodle. Okay, Mats have always been sent down. I thought he was one of their better forwards yesterday. Also, Oilers Galaxy braining, they were playing him as a center for like stretches of that hockey game. I also don't think he went out with a consistent set of line mates from the second period on.
I'm thinking about this from what Louis said to us on Monday.
They just don't want him around.
I think this is such a bad environment right now that they're just like, you know, you don't deserve to be here, but not in the way of like your play. It's just like, go play in Bakersfield. They're trying to push for a playoff spot. And I know that kind of means is irrelevant to a lot of Oilers fans, but like, go play some important hockey and play a big role in it. And it sucks because I think based off his play, he probably deserves to be up here, but I get it. And I actually don't mind it that much. It puts him back over the cap or under the cap, I guess.
Yeah, it gets them like right around that range because they are using.
They were 86,000 before the other trade. What is his name? Trent Frederick. They're 181,000 over currently.
Yeah. So yeah, they're maybe just keeping things open in case they need to acquire someone. Maybe they're working on a deal right now. Who knows? But what would you do lineup wise tomorrow?
They changed the lines a little bit, didn't they?
Did they skate today?
Yeah, they skated.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been whatever.
I'll get it. I think Greg had tweeted it out.
Okay.
It was top line was together.
Okay. Podkolzin's back with Dry and Arvidsson.
Yeah, Mark, Henrique, and Brown kind of over that line. Skinner, Kapanen, and Perry. What would I do? I would have Janmark down as my 4C. I would have Skinner up the lineup. And honestly, I would probably have Kasperi Kapanen up the lineup too. I think they're clearly struggling to score a lot. And those two have been known to put the puck in their points this season. I just give it a go and just go with it.
They did it for one game in the playoffs, and then I think they stopped. Henrique with McDavid.
Oh, well, they stuck because he got injured.
I know. That's what I mean, but like it worked. Remember, he scored that first game against the Kings.
Yeah.
I would do Henrique with McDavid. I know like Bruce Kurlock, some of the really smart people I follow on Twitter have been kind of pushing and advocating for this, that Henrique is probably a better left winger than Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and you're not taking any sort of a drop-off at 3C going from one to the other. So I go Henrique with McDavid and Hyman. I have Skinner, Draisaitl, and Arvidsson together. My third line would then be Nuge with Brown and I guess Podkolzin, and that leaves my fourth line is Kapanen, Janmark, Perry. Again, don't love it, but I think you need to do something different here to try to get this offense going at 5-on-5, and moving up Adam Henrique, I don't think it's a terrible idea at all. So I like Jeff Skinner being back in the lineup. I don't love where he's playing. Vasily Podkolzin shot a puck yesterday at one point, which I just thought was a massive, massive step forward for the guy. That's really, really encouraging. Like, he knows how to shoot the puck, so that's like very refreshing to see. But again, like, you cannot score at 5-on-5 right now. Jeff Skinner can score goals at 5-on-5. Jeff Skinner has a nose for the net. Jeff Skinner will, surprisingly enough, go to the dirty areas. And what they are seeing in Janmark and Brown and Kapanen that Jeff Skinner's not doing, I'm not a smart enough hockey mind to see it, I guess. I'm just totally oblivious to whatever they see from other guys that they don't see in Jeff Skinner, because maybe I'm oversimplifying the sport of hockey. You need to score goals to win hockey games. Jeff Skinner will score you goals. Moving Adam Henrique up the lineup instead of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins will help you get more goals, because Nuge can't score. He's got a lower goals or points per 60, points per hour than the guy they just acquired, Trent Frederick. Trent Frederick hasn't been playing with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or with Connor McDavid all season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
he's the only player named Trent in the NHL.
No, that is a fact.
Now we're getting into some interesting analytics.
Finally,
but I wanted to. Who do you think? Like, again, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins plays a ton of time with Connor McDavid and cannot produce offense. I love the news. 3C, $5.5 million, whatever it is, 5.12, whatever his cap it is. Great. Make him your 3C. That's fine. the fact that he can't produce offense, and again, Trent Frederick outproducing him at 5-on-5 this year, and his most common line mate is Charlie Coyle. Charlie Coyle, not Connor McDavid.
Good player, but yeah, definitely not Connor McDavid. Yeah, it's news just been alarming. It's not been good. He had that stretch after Christmas where he was solid. Seemed like he'd kind of found his offensive groove again and just hasn't. At least Hyman had a goal disallowed the other day, I guess. Like, he was in the right spot, and I thought he did decent yesterday, too. It's interesting because Knoblauch had that quote the other day of saying, like, he wants line mates to be consistent. And sorry, Aaron, if you can pull up the lines one more time for me, please. I think it shows that, like, they're trying to do that. It's just a bad time for him to say that and then the Oilers to be terrible. Because I don't think these lines are that bad. Like, we've obviously seen him have positive impacts on the game of ship. I really do think that bottom six is just not the way it should be. And I get, like, they want that third line to be the check-in line. But if the check-in line isn't doing it, like yesterday, that third line played more than anybody else together at 5-on-5. 8 minutes, 36 seconds. They had 4 shots for, 3 against. Not terrible. I guess the others also outshot them by like 12, I think. And they also were on the ice for 1 goal against. I'm not sure which one that was off the top of my head. Arvidsson, Draisaitl, Savoy on the ice for 3 goals against at 5-on-5. And a lot of questionable things happening right now. As you can see, the defense also, Klingberg and Ekholm didn't skate. I would take Klingberg out of the lineup next game. I thought he was dreadful yesterday, and I think that might be an understatement. Stetcher, like, I know he's not an upgrade, but
Klingberg.
You know, Stetcher's not gonna like stray too far out of position like offensively and cause a bit of a liability there. Like, they need to dial it in on defense, and I think Stetcher's clearly better than Klingberg at that.
Klingberg's useless.
He's very bad.
Yeah, I can very confidently say that he is not a solution.
No, he is not a solution.
Fuck, this just sucks.
It does so bad.
Yeah.
That's us. You could just put that on tie nice faces on
I
that.
might change the thumbnail to this.
Yeah, I think you should.
Yeah, I really think you should.
Yeah, I think
it's a
you
good
should.
thumbnail. Stetcher brings some jam, yeah?
He does.
And again, like, this was my problem with Klingberg and the signing. And I mean, like, I said I was willing to give it a chance, but I mean, you all watched the show with me. I wasn't big on that signing.
I think
and to give him $1.7 million, and I said, like, if this move lulls them into a false sense of security, it's going to be a problem. And, like, you know, maybe it's a blessing in disguise that he's played like shit since coming into the lineup.
Yeah.
Because maybe Stan Bowman will be like, okay, that guy can't play 18 minutes a night come playoffs, but
I'm not sure what I would even play him in the playoffs if I had to.
I wouldn't play him. You can't play him. Absolutely. It was worth a gamble. No, it wasn't. Cost you 1.7 against the cap. And I don't think the upside was ever there with that guy. He was bad when he was healthy before. So, like, come on. Klingberg should be injury cover. Sure, yeah. If Bouchard blows out his ACL, knock on wood, then you can put Klingberg in, go 11-7, and play Klingberg on the power play. Sure.
Yeah.
I think they got to start. Maybe they do have to start going 11-7. Kasperi Kapanen's not doing anything. I mean, he plays with some jam, which I appreciate because no one else seems to want to, but
yeah. Yeah, it's Pickard for Quick who says no. Quick.
Yeah,
that was
the Rangers.
Yeah, the Rangers in general, who are now in a playoff spot, by the way. That's the other problem, too. And, like, the trade market right now is so difficult to kind of navigate through, like, for us to identify who could be possible targets, because all these teams keep winning. Like, no one's come back from the break and been, like, that bad that they've just forced themselves out of a playoff picture, like, so substantially that they're now going to, like, open up the doors and everyone can go. They're in a terrible spot. Like, there's no team in the NHL. Sorry, Detroit is the only team in the NHL right now who is on 3-game losing streak or more. That is very interesting.
Okay. Speaking of Detroit, man, I wonder if you can get Alex Lyon.
No. They're tied for a playoff spot. Like, that's the problem. All these teams with actual goalie solutions.
But maybe you could just convince them, like, hey, just call up Gylander or Kosa. It'd be Kosa.
Got a Gylander.
Kosa. Shout out Gylander. I just like him because he's a member of the crew.
Great goalie, too.
But, like, you know, maybe you could just be like, hey, you know, Detroit, however far you go, we'll be with Cam Talbot. You're going to have to overpay to get him because everyone knows the spot you're in. But, like,
and he makes no money.
And he makes no money. But, like, Alex Lyon probably helps. His goal saved above expected is decent. Matthew, Tyler, do you think Jeff Skinner and Perry should be in the top 6 with Dry, considering they've both shown up for this team? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't hate the look of that. I see no downgrade going from Arvidsson to Perry. I mean, unless you're just really, really, really trying to get Arvidsson going, which I think they are.
Which I think he played... Again, Aaron said this before the show. The floor is so low for him that it doesn't really matter. But I think he played slightly better yesterday. He seems to have a bit more life in him, which is a positive for sure. Just have us a good stretch here. This is about the same time he came back last season for the Kings and did really well for them. Played 18, 19 games, whatever it was, 15 points. So maybe if they can somehow find that out of him, then yes. But yeah, I think I would put Perry in the top 6 a little bit more. You can't score goals, and he's finding ways to do it.
He has a nose for the net, has some jam.
Big time.
Honestly, that's all I want to see from guys right now. Let's continue along with the show here, Liam. I wanted you to cook up a mock trade for me today. It's for our friends at Douglas Mattresses. I love sleeping on my Douglas. You all know that. You've heard me talk about it a bunch of times. Not only are they a good Canadian company, they're actually a locally owned and operated Edmonton company as well. The mattress expands when you open the box, and it is all about comfort and great value. Only $599 is the starting price to get yourself into a Douglas mattress. Free shipping all across Canada. And again, all comes in their convenient mattress in a box delivery. Local company right here in Edmonton. And they actually have their first storefront in Edmonton as well at the Manchester Square location. So I love a good local business that stays local as well. Head to douglas.ca/Oilersnation to get yours today. Liam, give it to me. What's your deal?
A mock trade. I don't love it, but I think it's somewhat realistic with the market. Frank coming on here being like, hey, the Oilers don't have any money, and this guy he was actually outshot 14-2 yesterday, which isn't ideal, but I thought he wasn't on the ice for a goal against. But Brian Dumoulin, 75% retained. This is similar to the
Frederick deal?
No, the Edmondson trade last season to the Kings. Dumoulin, 75% retained. You send a third-round pick to Anaheim and a late-round pick to a broker to get it down. So he currently makes, if I'm not mistaken, 3.25. So you get that down to less than $1 million.
I would do it if it's 10 minutes till the deadline and there's nothing else going on.
I would too.
And I would want it to be my 2027 third.
Yeah, I guess there's no
2027 third and a fifth in 2026 to broker it somewhere. Because you could do it just doing 30% retention on it because he's $3 million and you really just need to get him down to about $1 million.
Yeah.
Or you could convince the Ducks to take Klingberg back. And then the money works.
I did wonder about that too. That happened a few times last year with some deals, and maybe, I mean, the Ducks have been down that avenue before. That's somewhat of a similar trade, I guess, if you want to call it like that. Andrew Peeke was traded to Boston last year, and he has a $2.75 million cap hit. That was a third-round pick, and Jakob Zobril, 1.137. So somewhat similar, I guess, if you want to keep hold of one more pick and just try and get rid of Klingberg in it, which would make a lot of sense. Dumoulin, I don't hate as a player. I'm not thrilled.
I'm not sitting here jumping for joy that they're going to get Brian Dumoulin, but I feel like that's where we're heading after listening to Frank.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's hard to say because Frank obviously knows a lot of stuff, and don't get me wrong, but he's saying this. A lot of other people like Gregor Stauffer has also come out and been like, they're not done. I really have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen.
So let me ask you this. We'll make it our Sherwood Ford Giant question for the day, brought to you by Sherwood Ford, the Giant, and their Nation Valet service. They drive to you, pick up your vehicle, drive it to the dealership, perform the routine maintenance, get it all nice and cleaned up, and drive it right back to you. You never leave your office, you never leave your house, and your vehicle gets serviced. One of the many perks of making Sherwood Ford, the Giant, your next dealership. And when you book at SherwoodFord.ca and you say, I want to use Nation Valet, you're also going to get a prize pack from us and Sherwood Ford and get entered into our big monthly draw. Our last one was a trip for two on the Nation vacation, which is absolutely crazy that we did that. Percent chance the Oilers trade their 2026 first-round pick or one of their big-name prospects, and that group will be, I'm not even including Savoy because they won't trade him, but O'Reilly or Akey. What a percent chance, an A-plus asset, which is the first in 26, Akey or O'Reilly. Percent chance one of them goes by Friday.
Well, for the prospects, I'd honestly say 35%.
That they move one of them?
Yeah, that might even be too high, to be honest. I really don't think they're going to want to do that. And then first round pick, I'll say I'm going to live in a hypothetical world that Evander Kane is not playing, and I will say like 80.
80% chance you think they move that first?
I think they might have to. If they find out that Kane's not coming back, like, you don't think they're going to... I think they could one-stop shop in Seattle if they wanted to. Say, for example, Alexiak, and they added some more speed in the bottom six with Brandon Tanev, just throwing a name out there. I think that would cost you a first-round pick, and I think that wouldn't be a bad deal. What do you think?
For the prospects, I'll say it's like 15%.
Yeah, I'm probably right around that too. I'm terrible with these percentage
and the picks, I'll honestly say it's 50-50. I could see a world where they do something with Seattle that involves a first-round pick, and it's, again, like you said, if Kane's out, it's some combo of Tanev and Alexiak, and depending... Like, we're going to find out more info right away here on this Tampa Bay deal that's going to happen.
Sounds like it's 2 firsts.
2 firsts, but what I'm more intrigued by and how this will affect the Oilers, 2 firsts going from Tampa to Seattle, and then coming back the other way is going to be Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gourde. Are they keeping money on those two? Because I think that'll have a big impact on things here. Are they keeping money on Gourde, $5.1 million for the rest of the year? I think it's probably pretty safe to assume that's going to be 50% retained. The other name in this, Oliver Bjorkstrand, obviously is making, what is he, 5?
5 something as well.
Yeah, 5.4. So if Gourde's 50% retained, that's 2.6. Bjorkstrand's 5.4. That would mean they need to get ready to absorb $8 million in cap space. And Tampa Bay, right now, deadline cap space, they have $6 million, but Cam Atkinson will go down. That'll give them 6.9. And then you probably get rid of like Glendening. That would give them 6.9, $7.6 million in cap space. So again, my hope here would be that they are only retaining on one of Gourde or Bjorkstrand so that the Oilers can step up and get money retained on maybe both of a Brandon Tanev, Jamie Alexiak duo. And that is honestly the only trade I see out there that would have the Oilers' first-round pick going out the door.
That's the one I have in my head as well.
First, and you're going to have to give up assets to get them to retain. Maybe there's a prospect in your system Seattle likes, although I doubt it at this point because I don't want to give up O'Reilly or Akey. But if you can make something work with the first-round pick and get both Tanev but then you probably wouldn't have gotten Frederick if you had this deal. So maybe it's just the first for Alexiak straight up. And they're going to keep $1 million and he's 3.6. Maybe.
Alexiak?
Yeah.
He's 4.6.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. They'll keep $1 million, maybe, right?
Yes.
Like whatever the retention ends up being. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you do give up the first for Alexiak. I don't even love that price tag, but it's the deadline. You got to overpay.
Yeah, it's. I'd hope to get another player involved in it, but yeah, maybe they're obviously desperate right now. I don't know if Alexiak necessarily comes in and solves everything, but I definitely think he would help. I think Trent Frederick would have had such an impact on that game yesterday. I just think his style is something like they just look so deflated when after even the first goal, to be honest. They weren't even that down in the game yet, and they just dominated the first 10 minutes, and all of a sudden the life is just gone from the team. It's disappointing. I think that's disappointing.
Sean says, Tyler, tell us who you trade for next. You nailed the last one. It's Alexiak. That's my best guess. Yeah. That's my best guess on what they're going to end up doing. Okay, a couple more things to quickly knock out here. For our friends at Tim Hortons, Roll Up to Win is back. And it's your chance to get in on millions of amazing prizes with just the swipe of your thumb. Imagine turning your routine Tim's run into an unforgettable vacation with Sell-Off Vacations, a $1,000 racketing cash prize, or an all-new, all-electric 2025 Volkswagen ID Buzz. Even the simple joys of winning a coffee or donut can make anyone's day. You only have till March 23rd, so download the Tim's app today. Rules apply. Canada only. No purchase necessary. Visit the Tim's app for details. Liam, I got my cup. I've been stopping every day.
Good luck.
Ready? Mistaken Mexican said I do it gross. But, I mean,
it's a traditional way to do it. What are you supposed to do? Pick it with your fingers?
You guys ready?
That's the only way to do it.
You guys ready?
Yep. Podcast listeners.
Here he goes.
Pulling it up. Oh, he's biting the shit out of it off screen. God. Please play again.
We need a win. Something.
We got to get one of these eventually. Gotta. Rats. Okay, no win for us on the Tim Hortons Roll Up to Win, but maybe I could be a winner courtesy of our friends at Safeway, Liam, and the Safeway app. You can get in on a bunch of amazing prizes with our friends at Safeway just by picking NHL games. It's Safeway My NHL Picks. It's available on their app. Each correct pick gets you closer to a chance at winning up to 150,000 Scene Plus points. A new slate opens up every single Thursday. You make your picks for a week. Liam, we both did picks last week. How did you do?
3-2. Can't believe Toronto lost to San Jose. What the heck?
I went 2-2, and tonight I'm sweating Ottawa to beat Chicago, and then I'll tie you at 3-2.
Okay, then tomorrow we'll have our picks for next week, every Thursday.
There you go.
There you go.
Shout out to our friends at Safeway. Play along with us. Download the Safeway app today. What else is going on in the YouTube chat? If you win on the roll up the rim, then the Oilers will go on a heater. If that, I'll keep buying coffees if that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, whatever it takes. Feels so lifeless.
People saying Carlo. The talk is the Bruins aren't going to give him up, and like Colby Cohen brought that up to me today on Morning Cup of Hockey. If the Oilers wanted Carlo and were willing to pay the price, and Boston was willing to move him, they probably would have just done one big trade with the Bruins, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Kind of like what Seattle and Tampa Bay are doing right now.
Yeah. Can we move Skinner and Arvidsson and retain the no movement clause? What? I don't understand the question, Devin. Again, I maybe there's a chance Jeff Skinner waves. If they go to him and are like, you're not going to play a playoff game for us, then like why would he stay, I guess is my question.
Well, when you look through the depth chart, you have Trent Frederick coming in who can play on the left wing.
Yeah.
And Evander Kane will come back at some point who plays the left wing. Jeff Skinner has now been scratched 7 times this season.
Yeah.
Maybe it is time for him to just be like, hey, like, this isn't working, unfortunately. Both parties, can you try and move me to a good team at least? And I think the Oilers would be respectable and try and do that because he's been good. I think he's been relatively fine. He's obviously not lived up to the expectations of what we all thought he could be, but I think you'd probably do him a favor and just be, hey, like, this didn't work out.
Like
Let's
if
move you.
If the Rangers go and get, because the Rangers might be trying to do a bit of everything. If the Rangers go and get a 3rd-round pick for Riley Smith, would they turn to the Oilers and say, here's a 5th for Jeff Skinner?
I think Columbus is a team.
Yeah, they have great vibes, and they're pushing to make the playoffs, so they have all the money in the world.
So much cap space. And
could you get a 4th from Columbus? Maybe.
I would take anything. Ken Hall. No, I honestly don't think it matters. I think you're in such a hole right now that like that $3 million is more valuable than what
It's
ever
addition
a
by
fifth,
subtraction.
but a 6th round pick could be. Like you look back at the Puljujarvi trade. That was a good one. David Perron. Can you do that? Puljujarvi. They got Pustolia.
Yeah, Patrick Pistola, a guy who's never going to come to North America.
Contract off the books, basically. Just do that. Let's move on.
Spencer Powell says Bush, Pods, and a 5th for Byram, 50% retained in McLeod. That is an awful, awful deal. That makes them a worse hockey team. So, no. Nope. Okay, a couple more things, a couple more of our friends to shout out. Everyone in the chat, you guys were great. Chat, as always, brought to you by Odd Company Brewing and the all-new Nation Beer Everyday Lager. I'm going to have a few of these tonight to drown my sorrows. Pick up one, go to one of 2 locations in the Edmonton area, Ritchie or the downtown spot, or go to your local liquor store and say, do you carry Nation Beer Everyday Lager? And if they're like, no, we don't, say, what's wrong with you? And then go to Liquor Connect, look it up, and find a location near you that does carry it. Shout out to Odd Company. Shout out to our friends at Bet365 once again. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Tomorrow, what should we do? I'm thinking mock trades. I'm going to put out a call on Twitter. We'll get some people's mock trades coming in here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can go through them.
It is a game day. Jay's back from his trip.
I'm sure he's got a few things to say. I'm curious to hear what he thought of Paris. He went to Paris and London?
Yeah, in 5 days, and he's back.
That doesn't seem like enough time. Anyway, I'll ask him about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that takes up some time.
Blockbuster trade, Bouchard for Mikko Rantanen. Boy, they would, again, like the Oilers blue line would just be terrible. You don't need Mikko Rantanen. You need a goalie or a defenseman.
No, like we've obviously joked about Rantanen. I mean, like, hey, if they could somehow get him, that would be sick. I just wouldn't be moving Bouchard to get him. The Oilers just don't have the assets for him, unfortunately. But he'll sign here on July 1st, and it'll all be good.
Susie for Klingberg plus picks. Yeah, I'd be in on that.
Susie's an interesting one.
Plays both sides. I think I would maybe take him before. I liked Dumoulin last night. Who'd you rather have if the cost is the same? Cost on Susie might actually be less than Dumoulin.
Probably Susie, I think. He makes a little bit less money, too.
I don't think Vancouver will want to do any help.
No, I don't think they would either.
Seattle's getting a 1st and 26, a 1st and 27. Toronto's 2nd and 25, and Mikey Essimont. The Bolts are getting Gord Bjorkstrand in a 5th. I do think whatever deal the Oilers make, like it needs to be, you got to get like a 5th or 6th back too. I think you need to keep like some amount of draft capital.
Holland was good at doing that.
He was. You would always get the picks thrown in. And like you might sit there and laugh and be like, what's a 6th? What's a 7th? But I mean, Shane LeChance, Max Wanner just helped you get Trent Frederick. So like, you need those bullets.
So that matters. So Esteban's not a bad player. Great name. Yeah, so trade room, mock trades tomorrow. DM either of us on Twitter. Liam, are you still first in your golf league? I am. Big game tonight. Last week before the drinking round. So
best of luck.
Whew, it's going to be a big one.
Kane on LTIR, Spoy and Arvidsson for Crosby. No.
Hell yeah.
No. Plus a first. Still no. There's no way they do that. Kane for Raquel. Why? I don't think Pittsburgh would do that. I doubt Pittsburgh's on Kane's list. Highly, highly doubt. Please don't trade Savoy. I don't think they will. We want the Nation Don't Air tour back. What are we doing here, guys? Hey, if they get bounced in round 1, we are going to need to fill the month somehow.
We could do our small town tour.
Honestly, that might be what we end up doing.
I'm in.
Have you seen the contract? If Jones can move, Nurse can move. Trading Darnell Nurse, though, doesn't help you right now.
Yeah,
like trading Nurse in the summer, if you have a bunch of other things in the air. You know who's someone I was thinking about as like a potential free agent ad in free agency?
Neil Pionk.
Everyone said a year ago, 12 months ago, someone would have been like, hey, Steven Stamkos is leaving Tampa Bay. You would have been like, that's generally an insane idea.
Okay.
What if Aaron Ekblad doesn't re-sign in Florida? 29-year-old right shot D-man.
They probably won't. I mean, at the end of the day, they were trying to buy him out like last summer.
There was talk that they were trying to move him a couple years ago.
And he's good, but he's not amazing.
But he'd come here and play second pairing minutes with Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'd take Sam Bennett off Florida any day.
I think he's going to get overpaid. He doesn't score enough.
But his value in the playoffs, and if he puts up like 50 points every year, and say you pay him $7 million, and you get
with Connor
50 points every year, and he is an absolute beast for you every postseason, impactful in different ways, then I'm paying that guy. But I'm also just going to pay Trent Frederick to hopefully do the same. He's not as good offensively as what Sam Bennett could be. It's amazing. I think one of the craziest stories ever in the NHL is that Sam Bennett couldn't do a chin-up at the Combine.
That's so
and
funny.
he's now one of the toughest guys in the league.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
All right. That is a wrap on today's edition of the show. I'm hoping we got Jason Demers tomorrow. We'll do your mock trades as well. And, yeah, it's a game day. Oilers trying to get back in the win column against a Montreal team that, similar to Anaheim, is hungry to stay in the playoff mix. So should be an interesting game day. Always an interesting game when the Oilers host the Habs as well. That is a wrap on today's edition of the show. Shout out to Frank. Shout out to all of our partners. Shout out to everybody in the YouTube chat as well. We'll talk to y'all tomorrow at noon Mountain Time. Oil up.